Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here and you feel like you got a little bit of that common sense, hello. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you don't, achoo, you just got it. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button anyway, okay? And today on my channel is going to be another common folk perspective video. We're going to talk about all of the minimum wage increases that we are seeing in 2025. They have a total of 21 states that are increasing their minimum wage. We're going to get into it, but before we get any deeper, remember, I ain't got no law degree and I don't have any official law training, okay? So don't come for me. But my name is Key, and this is What's the Key.
For me, break, for me, break the body for me.
All right, let's get right into it. As always, if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my notes, and any bell you're hearing is my cat City doing kitty things, okay? Now the minimum wage increases, all right? This video, I'm just gonna go down state by state. I'm gonna talk about the poverty wage, the living wage, and the minimum wage, okay? When I get to the living wage, I'm gonna talk about the living wage for just a single person with no children, and then the person with one child, what their living wage should be per hour. So a living wage is an hourly rate that an individual in a household must earn to support themselves and their family while working full time, okay? So this doesn't count vacations or anything crazy. This is just their general expenses that they need to support them or their family while working full time. The poverty wage, you become eligible for assistance, okay? And then another definition I'm going to get into is the consumer price index, because a lot of them base their increases on minimum wage off the consumer price index. So I'm just going to go over a quick definition of that. So the consumer price index is the measure of the average change over time in the prices paid by consumers for a representative basket of consumer goods and services. All right, so that is what the consumer price index, and then I realize it varies per state. Every state has their own index that they use for themselves. So just going to go in alphabetical order by the 21 states that have increased. All right, and then actually we're going to talk about 22 states in here. That's only because we'll get to that. So starting with the first one, Alaska. Alaska is having their increase from $11.73 to $11.91 on January 1st, 2025. The only poverty wage that is different is Alaska's, okay? So their poverty wage is $9.04 and everybody else is $7.24. Their poverty wage is $9.04 and their living wage is $23.26 and then $41.52. And this is done by the living wage calculator of MIT. So, was that, let me see, $23.26, $11.91. I don't know, Alaska. Poverty rate is $9.04. Your people about $2 away from poverty. All right. At least y'all adjust annually based on your consumer price index. Maybe the consumer goods in Alaska are low priced, you know? But, you know, they're saying the living wage is $23.26. So I'm not seeing how this works. All right. Arizona, like I said, from here on out, the poverty wage is $7.24. All right. Their minimum wage is increasing from $14.35 to $14.70 on January 1st. They have a current living wage of $23.40, and a wage with, if you have one child, would be $40.80. Okay. All right. They're about $10 off, $9 off, I would say, a little less than $9 off of their living wage. And quite frankly, as an Arizonian currently, baby, you ain't making it nowhere but no $14 an hour. Now, California is increasing theirs from $16 and $16.50 generally, and this does vary by the counties. So the county wages are different here, okay? Their living wage is $27.32, and that's $47.96 if you have one child. One thing I wanted to bring up about California is, so they had a vote on Proposition 32, which would increase the minimum wage to $18. Listen, the no vote was 50.7% and the yes was 49.3%. Put it back on the ballot in a couple years. That shit will be flipped. 50.7 and 49.3, oh, they should have did a recount. They should have maybe announce this and say, hey, we're going to have another election. This is too close. I feel like with margins like this, we may have to hit a point where we got to redo it. Margins are too close. Could be some human error in there. Because that was quite close for California people. It must be that top half of California who think they just so rich that they, you know, the people below them, and they'll be all right. You know, the business owners, people below them will be all right. Oh, real quick. So back to Arizona, their tip wage is increasing to $11.70 per hour, okay? Colorado, they're currently increasing it from $14.42 to $14.81. Almost got your nice little 40 cents in it. Y'all can't, some of y'all can't even give niggas a 50-cent raise in minimum wage. Terrible. Tip wage is $11.79. And their current levy wage is $24.83. And then if you have one child, $45.83. Colorado, you're a solid $10 off. Listen, I don't understand why they seem to think that people can. Let's keep going. I don't want to get too deep into this. All right, Connecticut. They are currently at $15.69 and they will be making an increase to $16.35. They are making a good little jump in Connecticut. Their current living wage is $24.13, and I wonder. Cut it off, Kiwi. All right, gotta keep going. All right. They tipped stays the same. Bartenders get $8.23 and then wait staff gets $6.38. Moving on. Delaware. They're increasing. They're having actually, I will give them, they are having a pretty big increase from $13.25 to the $15. And apparently this $15 is where every state wants to be. Why? I don't know. Can't nobody live off of it, but that's where they want to be. All right. Their tip wage though is $2.23. It's only 10 cents above federal, which is $2.13. Their living wage is $22.63, and if you have a child, that's $40.08. So they're about $7 off of their living wage. So far, I think that's the smallest margin we have. Okay? Good old Illinois. Bias Illinois in here. Okay. So they're increasing from $14 to $15. There's another group that hit this $15 at this also $15 that I really need to look into because doing it again, Kiwi. All right, their tip wage is increasing to $9, and Illinois' comparable living wage is $22.86, and if you have a child, it's $39.63. They're also having some local rate changes. All right, another one where you're about $7 off, you know, from the $7-8 off from your living wage. Maine. They're having local rate changes, but they're going from $14.15 an hour to $14.65 an hour. Tip wage is increasing to $7.33. Their living wage has lower is $22.04, and with a child, it's $39.21. I believe that is the lowest living wage we have seen so far, as is $22.04. Okay. Fourth minimum wage still isn't hitting it though. In order for that person to sustain themselves and do basic living, they ain't hitting it. Maryland, all right? So the reason why Maryland is going up here is that they're not increasing their wage, all right? Maryland in 2024 hit that $15 mark, this magic $15 mark, and although for the last several years they have been updating their wage, they don't have anything as of now for 2025. We're gonna have to watch Maryland, okay? They may be trying to pull a Michigan on us. All right, Michigan, I ain't gonna get too deep. We done got a whole video. Go watch it. Go watch it. All right. So they're making an increase from $10.33 to $10.56 on the first, and then $12.48 on that February 21st. All right. Tip wages is $4.01 to $5.99. All right. Their living wage is $20.28. Minnesota. Minnesota's going $8.85. They're making a pretty big jump to $11.13. Good for you, Minnesota. All right, there are going to be several local changes, but now here we go. We got a new lower living wage, $21.45, and then $41.01 if you have a child. Okay. They also took away, the Governor Walz eliminated the two-tier system they had back in August 2024. So now usually small businesses get a little bit more grace when it comes to increasing wages. Nope, they increase right along with the large businesses, okay? I don't own a business, so right now I'm the people. Missouri's making an increase from $12.30 to $13.75, okay? And it looks like they're going to be making a big increase to the $15 in 2026, okay? They use CPI annually. Oh, we have a new lower living wage, $20.20. Now, if the living wage stays around $20.20, And in 2026, they go up to $15. Missouri will have, from the ones that are on the list, from wages to living, the best combination, because they're only about $5 apart, okay? Not saying you're there, but Missouri, you're the closest. Now Montana. Montana's increasing from a good old $10.30 to $10.55. Thank you for the quarter. Montana, thank you for the quarter. Okay, their living wage is $20.37. Okay, that is still higher than Missouri's at 2020. And they do nothing separate for tipped wages. Okay, I wonder how their restaurants are surviving out there. Michigan. All right, Nebraska. They're increasing from $12 to $13.50. Their living wage, we have a new low, is $20.12. And if you have one child, it'll be $35.86 per hour. In 2026, they will go up to $15. All right, so that will make them even closer than Missouri to their living wage. Just a little over, they'll be $5.12. And Missouri, it will be $5.20 from their livable wage. Okay, so Nebraska, though, as close as they are to living, their tip wages are staying at the federal wages, $2.13. Okay? New Jersey. All right, New Jersey has went from, they fancy. They over the, New Jersey has went from $15.13 an hour to $15.49 an hour. Okay? Their living wage is $24.76, so about $9 from their living wage. And if you have a child, increases to $43.60 per hour needed. Okay? Remember, these living wages, they don't expect you to have government assistance, any of that. Okay? You're able to go and you can take care of a car problem, whatever you need. Using the bathroom. So they now are starting to use. That was petty of her. I can't rush you. So bad from time. You done, Poopy? Hi, Mom. Hi, pretty girl. Hi. So now New Jersey will start indexing. And they will have separate rates for adults at long-term care facilities, which speaking as someone who worked at a facility where people have to be guarded 24 hours, I need y'all to, any facility where people have to be guarded 24 hours and taken care of for 24 hours, need to have different rates for minimum wage, period. New York State, all right, they're increasing from $15 to $16 an hour because they vary based on different counties. We'll be having an increase from $15 to $16 an hour to $15.50 and $16.50 an hour. Okay, their livable wage is $26.86 an hour and $48.16 if you have a child. Now, they may not necessarily have the highest when it comes to a living wage. I believe California or Alaska might be beating them. California is beating them at 27, but they're with a child. New York not trying to help you. I need y'all to stop getting on top of people in New York because $48.60, that gotta be the highest. That is the highest. Even in California, where the living wage is $27.32, it's $47.96 with a child. Like, woo! New York said, go somewhere else if you're gonna have all these kids. We got enough people here. All right. Ohio was getting a good old increase from $10.45 an hour to $10.70 an hour. With the child, you need $19.40, which is one of the lowest. But I mean, when you're at $10, $3 above federal wage, Ohio, it don't really matter. And then $35.13 if you have a child. All right, their tip wages increases to $5.35. And Ohio increases off their CPI. And I just want to know, where are they getting these prices from the CPI? Because any people that make above minimum wage, like, we can't. Price is high as hell. All right, Rhode Island. Now, Rhode Island is making an increase from that 14 to that magical $15 an hour, okay? Their tip wage is going to $3.89 an hour. And to live in Rhode Island, you would need $24.24 an hour. And then if you have a child, $42.87 an hour, okay? Now, Rhode Island doesn't have anything in place after this $15 an hour, okay? So it will just remain in place until a new legislation comes along. They have nothing in place, no CPI, nothing but the treasurer with the inflation, nothing in place to increase their wages after 2025. So we'll see how that goes for Rhode Island. We'll have to check for them every year. And every year at the end of the year when I do these minimum wage videos, you're gonna be like, Rhode Island, where you at? Did you make new legislation? Okay. South Dakota. South Dakota went from $11.20 an hour to $11.50 an hour. Shout out to the 30 cents. South Dakota. All right, tip wages increased to $5.75. They also go off of CPI. All right, their living wage is $19.58, and then $33.13 if you have a child. $7 from their living wage. Crazy. And that seems to be about the average for every state, is about anywhere from $7 to $8 from their living wage. Vermont. Okay, Vermont is going from $13.67 an hour to $14.01 an hour. Can't forget that penny. And their tip is going up to $7.01 per hour. Okay, their living wage is currently $23.02 and $41.86 if you have a child, so about $9 from their living wage. Side note, going back up to Ohio, now that I'm looking at my notes, y'all only $3 above poverty. Not as bad as Alaska, is only $2, but y'all only $3 above poverty. All right, so that was Vermont. Virginia is going from $12 an hour to $12.41 an hour, and their tip wages is $2.13, which is the federal wage. All right, living wage for them is $24.03, so they're about $12 off, a little less than $12 off from the living wage, and $40.03 if you have a child. Okay. Don't be a single parent, man, with a child. Do not be a single parent child in this world. Washington is going from $16 to $16.66. So right now, Washington does have the highest minimum wage as a state. All right, we're not talking about the locals. And they change it annually based off their CPI. Okay, their living wage is $25.60 an hour and $44.51 if you have a child. It's about $9 from their living wage. So states that will be having no increases will be Arkansas, Maryland, Massachusetts, Nevada, New Mexico, West Virginia, and Hawaii. Okay, Hawaii got a little asterisk because Hawaii will resume their step rates in 2026. They actually increased with a $2 raise back in 2024. So that is why Hawaii skipped a year, is because they did a $2 raise in 2024.
Hey y'all, Edited Key, real quick. Those last states outside of Hawaii don't have any legislation to increase their wages either. All right, back to it.
Okay. I just have my little thoughts. Why does no one look at the livable wages when making the minimum wages? Well, I feel like livable wages are accurate from what they're saying for you to be able to do the basics that you as a legislation want Americans to have. Because I tell people all the time, I get what y'all idea of basics are, but the idea of basics in America is different from the idea of basics anywhere else. Electricity, plumbing, that's a basic in America. Okay? So I just want to know why are the states refusing to look at the living wage? What the fuck? We might need to do a whole video on the CPI and if it's even accurate for them to be using. I know it varies by state, but if you're going by the CPI, but livable wages are saying, hey, you need to be up to this based off of what it takes for an American to live comfortably in the States and want to work for you 40 hours a week. You know, I don't see why y'all have such a fight to pay them that. And I know that whole argument, they have to increase the price. No, they don't. Why they don't? They increase the prices anyway. They don't have to. They choose to. So CEOs can keep multiple jets and multiple houses. Okay? It's not needed. But, I just wish more of them looked into living wages, all right? I will say a lot of states are like at least $5 to $7 over the poverty wage, but like I said, they're about $7 from their living wages. So we're literally living between poverty and the poverty wage and the living wages in most cases for most people. Somewhere between I'm not enough to get assistance, but damn, I'm struggling just to make it. Is majority of, I feel like, the people in the U.S. But y'all, that's all I have on minimum wages. If y'all have any thoughts, any comments, your state is in here and you want to make a comment on it, I didn't put your state in here, I may have missed something, let me know down in the comments, okay? Do y'all feel like these increases are enough? Do y'all feel like we need to be going off a living wage rather than a minimum wage? And why do we even do a minimum wage is the better question when there's a whole livable wage out there. But then that begs us into the question, when it comes to a livable wage, do you pay a worker that's right next to me more than me just because they have 2 kids at home as opposed to me who has no kids but I'm doing the same job? That's where a lot of I can see a pushback when it comes with the livable wage, because when the livable wage argument comes, it only works for 0 people. When you get to the 1 to 2 children, people are not going to fight for that. Me personally, I know you need it, but hey, if you have the, listen, okay? I don't know. But those are my final thoughts. Let me know any of y'all thoughts in the comments. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
For me, break, for me, break the body for me.